it show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's gone, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with lies and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on. Chosen, just neglected. Deflected by some breaking news. How we just accepted. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objectives, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the Testament. These children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic.
Hey folks, welcome to Truth Talk with Steve. Today, I'm really honored to have a gentleman who I've, heard about, learned about him about a month ago now. And, just really fascinated with the things he discussed when I first heard him, and just thought I'd reach out and see if I have a shot at, getting this little bit of his time to come and share some of his insights, because we're going to talk about a couple of things today that I haven't really had anyone on to discuss these type of topics. So I'm really excited, and just want to welcome Robert Stanley to the show today. How you doing, Robert?
Doing well, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for taking out the time. I know you're busy. So thank you very much. Like I mentioned, I haven't had, really any discussions about, the alien thing. It's coming to the fore a lot more, even mainstream, and for whatever reasons they might be kind of pushing it. But
because the government this week, they're holding hearings in Congress.
Oh, that's right. In fact, have you ever listened to Sean Ryan's show at all by chance? He's a ex-SEAL, and he's got a huge podcast.
Oh, wait a second.
I saw a post yesterday. He was at those hearings, actually.
Okay. Yes, I did come across that accidentally today.
Yeah. He does some fantastic interviews. He had a gentleman on, and Eric, I want to say Heichler or something, talked about Antarctica earlier.
Yeah.
And it would have been last week, but yeah, fascinating stuff. But I mean, so with those hearings, obviously, we're starting to finally get some actual disclosure of this stuff they've hidden for what? Damn near 100 years, possibly, isn't it?
Well, this has been going on for thousands of years. We have a relationship with these beings. Our ancestors used to call them angels and gods and demons and you name it. But now we're calling them extraterrestrials, extra dimensionals, extra biological entities. Just all. I just call them family. Unless they're androids, I consider them to be part of the human family.
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, my belief is that the creator of all things, it's created all whatever entities are out there. I mean,
right.
So I would say that they would have to be then family,
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, look, let's just cut to the chase. There is a civil war or family feud that's been brewing for a long time, and it has engulfed this world. And so the first casualty of war is truth. And we are right in smack dab in the middle of it. And that's why a lot of these people, even though it's compartmentalized within the government, especially the military, the truth is a lot of them don't know either, because they're being played by the dark side of the equation, the fallen ones, the so-called fallen angels. They are highly manipulative and very dangerous. So this nonsense about the Pentagon telling us for decades now that there is no threat from off the world, that was never true, ever, and they knew it. So, and obviously they, their justification is we don't want to panic the public.
Yeah.
And yet now it's coming out that, well, maybe they are a threat, and maybe we need some more money to study it some more, and which again to me is just stupid. It's not even about the money. It's just the fact that they think that we have no need to know.
Right.
That's the way they look at it.
To know.
And yes, we do have a right to know, because we're citizens of this planet too, also. And so I don't see where they get off, making that kind of a decision for all of us on this planet, but it's clearly part of a bigger problem.
Absolutely. And I would just, also assume that just like us here on this planet, others on other planets, you've got probably the same situation. You've got the good ones and you've got the nefarious ones.
Well, yeah, that's what I was. Okay, so this is a bigger problem than most of us understand, and even myself, it's taken me decades to get a grasp of how big is this problem. Well, a war in heaven, it obviously is more than just this world, and it is something I really didn't understand how big it is and how dangerous it really is up until recently. Which what I'm trying to say is, at some level, those that are still loyal to God, the angels of light or benevolent extraterrestrials or whatever you want to call them, they came to the conclusion that this had to stop, because this little evil empire that the fallen ones created has been expanding and expanding, and everywhere they go, they turn everything to just mud. I'm using a polite term here. Okay.
Yeah, it's very polite for what they
do. But they do. They basically, they invert or pervert and manipulate, and it's unsustainable, and it just kills entire worlds and solar systems. And they're in the process of doing that here now. So it has to be stopped, not only in this world for any life to survive, but also throughout the rest of creation. If it left unchecked, is what I'm trying to say, left unchecked, the dark side would literally take over all of creation and destroy it. So that's the magnitude of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, for the people that are awake and maybe haven't gone to the next step, if you will, that's one thing. But then to grasp what you just said is a whole nother thing. That, I mean, I'm totally on board 100%. But it's really going to be difficult for people to really comprehend. And like you said, to even the level you understand, it's probably not even close to what's really out there and going on. It's just so
I'm grateful.
amazing.
Look,
amen.
It's a good thing it's not up to me, because I would probably do something stupid, and the benevolent ones, the angels of light, they are loyal to God. They're very well coordinated. It's not about killing the bad guys or putting them in jail. It's about rehabilitating. So my understanding is the process here anyway, which obviously this is what we're focused on more than anything, is the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Liberating and rehabilitating this world is only a small fraction of the bigger process that's underway, which is to, like I said, to literally, it's not even about liberating the rest of creation, because most of the creation is still intact. Well, the problem is, what do they do with the bad guys, the fallen ones? And my understanding at this point is that they just have to be completely eliminated. At least all of their plans to expand has to stop, and they don't want to stop. Obviously, you can see just what these so-called globalists are doing. They just keep encroaching further and further. Let's just block out the sun. Let's cut down all the trees. Let's just shut down all the farms. It's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
What kind of demonic spirit are you to tell us that you're going to shut everything down? So anyway, again, let's extrapolate. The bigger picture is, left unchecked, they're going to ruin this planet completely. It won't be able to sustain life. And the same thing is going on throughout all of, the same threat is for all of creation. So the decision was made some time ago on a divine level by God and the angels of light that they were going to eliminate the threat. Okay. Yeah. But they will do it with divine mercy. And that's hard for us to comprehend.
Boy, it is, isn't it? Jeez, it is.
Well, okay. But look at it. Let's we back up. We said they're all family. Like, do you really want to kill your brother or sister because they're insane?
I've thought about it before, and it's a tough, I get it. Yeah.
Right.
No,
okay. So
yes, it is a tough one. At some
point you would cross your mind, man, maybe we're gonna have to kill him.
Yeah.
And they've obviously been given more than one chance to, what do you call it? To negotiate.
Yeah.
But they're not in that frame of mind. So you could say they're criminally insane. You say they're spiritually ill. However you want to look at it, it's a huge problem that's way beyond just, bullets and bombs. It's not all about that. When I say rehabilitation, I'm talking, physical, mental, and spiritual. And that is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
It's way beyond and so here's the thing. We're not in a position to do this by ourselves. And that was made clear to me, about a year after I got back from Hong Kong was living in California, and I just woke up one morning and I knew that I had agreed to do something, which sounded utterly simplistic, you know. I knew I had made an agreement to put out this message, which is through whatever platforms I was on. At the time, I was on KGRA, doing radio shows twice a week, and I had the website 𝐸nicusmagazine.com. I was reaching some people, okay?
Yeah.
And I was asked, and I'm kind of guessing as to who, but I know why. Anyway, the bottom line is the benevolent ones asked me to put out this message, which is to everybody that heard what I was saying was, we need to ask for assistance from the angels of light in dealing with the angels of darkness, because we're not in a position to deal with them. They're you know, they have an advantage over us, and they have
advantage.
And they have had an advantage over us for thousands of years on this world. And it's actually gotten to the point now where without an intervention, we're screwed. So,
how much of that advantage do you feel is the knowledge they have about who they know we truly are, that most of us have no, you know, really don't understand?
right.
I mean,
Well,
even
that's
those of us that are awake still don't probably even comprehend the magnitude of our power.
only because we've been increasingly made ignorant. Oh, okay, so this in war, the first casualty is truth, right? But there's also something called the fog of war, and when you capture others, and as opposed to killing them, you basically say they're your well, in old times they became your slaves, and essentially we are the slaves of these fallen angels. And yet they have genetically manipulated the original life form of a human, is what we would call angelic, or a glorified body, a radiant being, a shining one. And so a lot of people have read Sitchin, and a lot of people just parroting Sitchin's translation of the Sumerian, which is he claims the Anunnaki means they came from heaven. First of all, it's not entirely wrong, but it's not accurate either. It's weird. It's like, it literally directly translates to shining ones, angels, or Elohim, which is God's plural. So it's very confusing. And again, this is all part of the problem with this warfare, is that you know, the dark side doesn't feel a need to educate us. In fact, it's easier to manipulate and control us if we're kept ignorant, not just about our origins, but how they fell, and what is their agenda, not just for this world, but for, like I said, they want to expand and take over all of creation. Well, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And you basically signed your own death warrant by doing that on some level. On some level. Obviously, on a spiritual level, I don't think God wants to destroy any of his children. But
put yourself, I mean, are you a parent?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's nothing my kid could do, you know, that I would turn my back on him, you know. I mean,
right, but here's the problem.
It's killing people, obviously, but shit.
I know, but Steve, here's the big problem with this. I mean, here's the really difficult aspect of all this, because we have free will, and obviously the angels do too. I mean, here's the thing. We originally, what I was trying to say is, the format here of human was angelic. The fallen angels turned it into an animalistic form, as we know ourselves today as man. I call us manimals, because we say, oh, I'm a mammal or whatever. No, we're a genetically manipulated version of angel. So that they did that to us so that they could further enslave us and cut us off from God and the rest of creation. So in other words, they made pretty good slaves out of us, and as far as from their perspective. But the problem is, you cannot rehabilitate someone who has free will unless they choose it.
No doubt about that. Yeah,
it's just impossible. And it would be a violation of their free will if you could do that. But we just know human nature being, or angelic. Like I said, we're related to them, but what they did to us was criminal. It is criminal. Absolutely. Because the next step is oh, yes, absolutely. Because all of creation is a meritocracy. We all have permanent records, and we have to be held accountable. Anyway, well, they took us from angelic to animalistic format as bipedal human, or bipedal beings. And the next phase is going to turn us into cyborg. Okay.
Wow.
So we're not going to just interface with AI. We'll become cyborgs and just to serve them. That's really all it is.
Don't you
It's
believe
just
there's some on this planet already?
already. Yeah, I know.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
know there are, but proving it. And look, even
Well,
if you could,
exactly. Yeah.
even if you could prove it, a lot of people are not going to believe it. And
No,
so what?
100%.
Okay, because but here's the thing. As much as I respect all the rest of us that are living here under these current circumstances, like I said before, we're not in a position to actually do anything about it other than what I told you before. The way it was presented to me was, please ask everyone that you can reach through the various platforms, medium, whatever, the modern communication. Ask them to ask us, the angels of light, God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, to assist us with. But here's the why. They didn't explain it to me right away, but it became very clear to me. In fact, boy, when I agreed to that, one of the things they said was, "Oh, wait a second. If you do that, you're going to get kicked off the radio." And I said, "Oh, big deal. I don't care." I said, "Well, okay, but if if you're not careful, you're going to get killed." I'm like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah, that's
What? And
right.
well, because they're very dangerous. It's not just the fallen angels, but those who serve the fallen angels. And this comes full circle. So this is why they want us to ask, to basically to give them permission to come in and deal with the problems here, because most of us for a very long time through reincarnation our spirits have been stuck here serving these fallen angels under false pretenses. So a lot of us who are here are still serving the fallen angels. We call them deep state or Satanists or whatever, right? But
right.
It's all the same thing. It's the dark side. And we basically we feel like we have to do that in order to survive here, which is true to some extent. So, but anyway, or I should say, when the angels of light show up to liberate this planet, well, what's going to happen. The dark side is going to say, "Oh my God, we're being invaded by aliens." Well, no, we're not. We're being liberated by angels of light. And you're trying to desperately hang on to controlling this world and all of us in the process. So it's like, it's a very tricky situation. Anyway, that it sounded like a very simple thing to ask of me, to ask of others, but they didn't give me all of the details immediately. But then it started to become clear to me, because it was literally like I was down such a deep rabbit hole with this whole thing about, and it's a legitimate field. I'm sure you've heard of demonology, right?
Oh yeah.
But the opposite of that is angelology. I didn't even know that existed until after that. I woke up that morning, and it was like an avalanche of all this stuff, and it just kept coming and coming. And I finally started to see the bigger picture, to the point where I was really freaked out by it, especially especially after I got kicked off the radio at KGRA, because I was with myself and a couple other people who were talking on the show about George Floyd. And somebody said, "Oh, have you seen the mural of him depicted as an angel?" And I said, "Oh, you mean fallen angel?"
Yeah.
Among other things. That's weird. You can't even touch that story without pissing somebody off, because they treat him like he's a god.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, somebody got offended by that and contacted the manager of the station and said, I'm thinking about suing you guys." So what he did, I'm summarizing, but anyway, it was whatever. So the manager said, "Robert, I had to delete that episode. And if you want to come back on the station, you have to apologize for what I'm apologizing for myself and my guests."
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, I basically said, "Okay, whatever you want, man." And then I told my wife, and she goes, "Robert, you cannot do that, because what's going to happen the next time you offend somebody, they're going to do the same thing. So what's the point?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So, all right. So I'm off the radio. And then it made me think back to what they said. I kind of know what comes next.
Yeah.
You keep pushing that button, and they're not just going to send threatening emails.
Yeah. And that's no joke.
Right. And
look,
I'm not scared of dying. Whatever. Look, Steve, I don't care about my physical being, because I already know I'm a spiritual. My spirit is eternal.
Yep.
immortal, whatever you want to call it. This is just a vehicle. But I'm also not stupid enough to run out and, play on train tracks or swim in shark infested waters. I don't do stupid shit like that because I have a family, and my immediate family that would just be devastating to them. So I try and be a little bit cautious about this. At the same time, I feel like I've got to get information out too.
Right.
So I've been very strategic. Well, again, it's like, think of it like a lot of our sports that we participate in is mock combat. Yeah. What do you say when somebody's nice shot?
Yeah, no
when you play nice shot.
So much. Yeah.
Huh? Okay, but it's what we do. It's who we are. But and it's so obvious. It's like the nose on your face. You don't even realize it's there, but until you stop and look and go, wait a second. Oh yeah, I guess I am looking through my freaking nose. Anyway, there's a lot of unlearning or rehabilitating that we're all going to go through, no matter how awake or whatever you want to call yourself, evolved. Amen. Here on this planet, because this is no longer a civilized world, and we've been cut off. We were cut off a while ago, fully. I mean, it kind of ebbed and flowed in the past. There was times it was really obvious they were making a push, and then the good guys, the benevolent ones, they would push back, but eventually they knew. And there's a reason I'm telling you this, okay? Because I'm not a religious person, but I've come to the point where I can say this conclusively, that I did have a meeting with God face to face when I was out of my body, and God, it projected God did create Jesus, all right? And Jesus really is an emanation of God directly. Wow. And I got to have a face-to-face with Jesus, which is, again, it's an aspect of God. It's an avatar. It's an interface that God created to not only for us to communicate directly with him, but more importantly, and this is way more important, is that Jesus is the tip of the spear. It is an aspect of God that is able to come directly into the dark side without completely annihilating it. I mean, if the full presence of God was to come into the dark side, it would be gone in an instant. It would be totally just like a bug zapper, poof, gone. Yeah. And God doesn't work like that, because again, you think about it, as a creator, his last instinct is going to be to destroy something that he originally created, right? Yeah. Even if it's gone off the rails, whatever. So, like I said, it's a rehabilitation process. And so the way I see it at this point is there was a line in the sand as this dark side, this evil empire is expanding specifically to this world. Jesus, God, drew a line in the sand and said, you cross this line, that's it. We're coming after you, and we're going to end you, and your empire is going to be gone. Wow. So I believe that's what happened when he was left his body on the cross. Uh-huh. That aspect of that portion of God literally went into the heart of the evil empire and gave them notice. Wow. And they were freaking out, but at the same time, they couldn't stop. For whatever reason, like I said, criminally insane. It's hard for us. I struggle with trying to understand the logic, because I don't think there is logic behind it. Right. It's more of an emotional thing they're obsessed with whatever here's the deal. I kind of feel like they can't control themselves. So they're obsessed with controlling others. It gives them a feeling of control, but it's not.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And they have no self-control, for sure. We know that. That's pretty obvious. So, here's the other thing I've come to understand is that all of this is being recorded holographically. So, even though this will never be permitted again, we'll still have free will, but there's going to be further restrictions, just like with kids. You got to have boundaries. Otherwise they're going to hurt themselves or others. Well, obviously that's what happened, but there's a lot of lessons that were learned or are still being learned in the process of all of this. So, the level of intelligence that God has and the angels of light have is so far beyond where we're at right now as so-called humans on this planet with our little internet and stuff. It's kind of, it's hard to make a comparison, but I'll just put it this way. Again, it's divine mercy. There's a benevolence there that is beyond our understanding. So, like I said, instead of just destroying it outright, there is this process of negotiation and rehabilitation and liberation, ultimately from this insanity or this, whatever you want to call it, evil. We just call it evil. It's kind of a very generic term for something that is extremely dynamic.
Yeah. Well, so listeners are probably wondering, tell us a little bit about your background. And then, when you had that, face-to-face meeting and left your body, how did that take place? Was it?
Yeah. Well, the first time that happened to me was in Egypt when I was 15.
Oh,
that
wow.
was in 1975. I went into the the great so-called Great Pyramid at Cheops.
Okay.
Of Cheops. He didn't build it, whatever. Who knows for sure, just like everything else, it's kind of hidden from us. But I went into the Great Pyramid, spent some time alone in the Queen's Chamber, which is the lower chamber. I went in, then I ascended the Grand Gallery, went into the King's Chamber, and there was a group of tourists there, and it was packed. The place was, it's not a very big room, but it was packed. And then the tour guide, the local guy, he struck that stone box with a wooden mallet, and it rang like a tuning fork, which I wasn't expecting that at all. I couldn't even see it because there were so many people in the room. All of a sudden I just heard this sound, and it was going around the room, and I'm listening to it. And at the time I played violin in an orchestra, and I was very keen to the listening to a room, of vibrations. And the craziest thing was my vision just went white as I'm listening onto this. I had a white out. I didn't know it was an out of body experience. Okay. But that's typically what happens when your spirit starts to leave the body, everything seems to turn white. First, if you ever remember the movie The Matrix, it's kind of like it's like, let me show you the Matrix. All right, so anyway, and then it felt like, to me, the next thing I knew, I felt like I was outside the pyramid looking at it, which was weird. I was shocked. I'm like, what's going on? But then I looked, and I saw that there was a line of probably 8 or 9 Egyptian gods. I could tell because they were wearing headdresses, and I mean, they weren't humans. They just looked like, and they were looking at me, and I'm looking at them going, whoa, okay. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I'm back in the pyramid, and the sound is dissipating. And I was left with this, my vision came back to the room, and there was this incredible hissing in my ears. I mean, like ridiculous hissing, and then everybody started filing out, and I thought, what the heck was that? And I went over to the tour guide. He didn't speak hardly any English, and I'm like mumbling something. Why did you do that? What was that for? And he's just looking at me like, yeah, crazy American, whatever. And they left, and I was standing in there by myself looking at this room going, man, that's a good trick, because I thought everybody else had the same experience.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And like, so to Disneyland, you go into a room and you get special effects. No, anyway, I don't know if they did or not, but I would call that an initiation of some sort. In 75, 10 years later, I was working as a security guard in Malibu, and I saved a young boy's life. To summarize, a lot of people have already heard me talk about this, but he was possessed, I believe. In retrospect, I would have to say he was possessed by demonic spirits that basically were causing him to hurt himself. Yeah. So he basically ran into a sliding glass door face first and cut his entire face and head Yeah, he broke it with his face. He just ran, boom, right into it, and it shattered on him. And I mean, wow, it was crazy. Anyway, so I ran over there and called 911, made sure, because his grandparents were with him and they were in shock, and they were trying to do something, but he was bleeding to death. Anyway, I ran in there. I called the paramedics, and that's when I saw these parasites floating in the air. I just I don't know what else to call them, spiritual parasites. And then I somehow I realized, because this was bizarre, this was not normal. Everything was like what do you call it? Altered state. Not just me, but there was something going on there for sure. And I realized somehow that the boy was hearing voices. And that's typical of, they say they call that schizophrenia, but actually it goes along with possession. So I'm talking about spiritual possession by demonic. And I didn't know any of this stuff at the time. I was 25, and I just, I'd heard those phrases, but I didn't know the details. That would come much later.
Yeah.
So after they took the boy away in the ambulance, the paramedics came, sorry, and they stabilized him. And the problem in Malibu is there's no hospital. There's an emergency room, but no, this kid absolutely needed to go to the hospital. And so that's at least a 30-minute drive. And I watched him leave, and I'm like, well, he may or may not survive that. But for sure he would have died if I hadn't called 911.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to take credit. I'm just trying to explain how all this got to the point where I ended up, so I went back to as a security guard there on the beach, literally for the movie stars and all the producers in Hollywood, whatever, in Malibu. And I'm sitting there guarding their front yard, backyard, whatever, on the beach. And I'm feeling like something's wrong with me. And I know a lot of people, they faint when they see blood. That wasn't it. I felt like something was literally draining the energy out of me through my solar plexus, which had never happened before. I wasn't nauseous. I just felt it. And I was trying to like, just say, hey, you're just traumatized. That was crazy, man. You just calm down, but it wouldn't go away. And I was worried. I was starting to really worry, like, hey, if I don't do something, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
It was, this whole thing was completely illogical. Okay. So running on instinct, if you think you're going to die, what do? You start doing stuff that you probably normally wouldn't do. And so it turned out that was the fall equinox that night.
Oh, really?
It's a very auspicious time. It's something about an alignment of whatever the energies, and it's a lot of things happen on equinoxes. Anyway, I ended up going up on top of a mountain locally there and watching the sunset and the moon rise. And I'm praying. When I say praying, I was trying to figure out a way to save myself from whatever the hell was attacking me.
Right.
And I felt like what I'd experienced with that boy and his grandparents was evil. And what is the opposite of that? I just said, well, it's got to be love. And so I sat there and I started to do a meditative technique, and literally broadcasting one thought out into I could see the Milky Way overhead and stuff. And that was just love. Yeah. So I did that for a long time until I got really tired. And so I laid down, and I was actually laying down on a cement pillar area. It was the ruins of an old, I used to think it was the military, but it was actually a Forest Service fire lookout station. And they just left the platform anyway. So I laid on this cement slab, and almost immediately I had that sensation where, they say falling asleep. Yeah. And instead of, normally you catch yourself, like, cause when you're falling, you're like, oh crap. But at that point I just let it happen. And what it is your spirit is just, it's not your body is not falling. It feels like it is, but your spirit is literally ascending rapidly. And it makes you feel like you're falling. Anyway, it's a weird sensation. But I did it, and immediately I was back in that white light, and that white light is God. a generic level, that is like the mind of God, the body of God, whatever's light, this light, but it's intelligent. It's an intelligent living energy, right? So, but I didn't realize that at the time. This is all in retrospect. I just felt safe, like, oh, wow, I did it. I'm wherever I was or was not, I knew they couldn't follow me. Some part of me knew instinctively they can't come here. And I was relieved. But then I saw something moving off in the distance. And because I was literally by myself up in a wilderness area in the mountains, I started getting a little concerned, because whatever that thing that was moving, it kept getting closer and closer, and it was bright until it literally was like facing me face to face. It looked like Jesus, right?
Wow.
And except that he was glowing this incredible light, even out of his eyes. There was a light coming out of his eyes. And I looked at it, I go, who is this? I'm thinking to myself, who is this? And he says to me, and a lot of people heard me say this, I used to think he said, I am your father. And the reason I thought that is because I couldn't accept what he actually said to me was,
oh, really?
No, what he really said was, I am the Father, which means, I'm not stupid. I know what he said.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm God.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Excuse me? No. Because if this is really happening, then I'm crazy, according to our society, right?
Yeah.
You don't meet God, and absolutely not. You don't. Only crazy people meet Jesus. And for him to say now, he's not saying I am one with the Father like in the past. No, he's saying I am the Father. And it took me up until now to accept that what he was saying was accurate. I mean, why would he lie to me? God doesn't lie to us, but it's like my understanding of it was so convoluted and emotionally charged, not just from the trauma, but really, if I was in shock from the evil stuff, I was really in shock literally for decades trying to figure this out. And the reason it was such a riddle for me is because of this war in heaven. Okay. So again, Jesus came here, was created, and came here to begin the process of prosecuting this war. Ending it.
Right.
Okay. So he's in charge of that. And this thing about him glowing, it's in the Bible. Okay. Before he was crucified, he went up on a mountain with just a few of his, what do you call those guys? Apostles?
Apostles, yeah.
Yeah. And he started to glow at night on the top of a mountain. Yeah. And it's called the Transfiguration.
That's right. Yeah.
Very, very misunderstood. It's really, in my opinion. But I'm just saying that was the first time. Then after he was crucified, in the when they laid the body down, the resurrection, allegedly there was another even brighter light. This is allegedly where we get the Shroud of Turin. And then it goes even higher than that. The light levels go even higher during the ascension. The light coming off. Actually, what it says is one of the books that I offer people in my divine briefing, which you can access on my Substack. Okay. robertstanley.substack.com. I don't know if you put a link up or whatever.
Yeah, I'll definitely have the link in the notes.
Thank you. And it's just called a divine briefing. Anyway, the book I'm trying to relate to you is from the Gnostic text. It's called the Path of Light. So,
Course creators, say goodbye to intimidating software and eliminate multiple subscriptions and say hello to Backbone. Backbone helps course creators thrive with their all-in-one, easy-to-use sales and marketing platform. Backbone gives you all your automation in one place to capture, nurture, and turn more leads into customers. With Backbone, you get unlimited courses, membership sites, funnels, landing pages, surveys, and forms with our easy-to-use drag-and-drop features. That's not all. Backbone provides a full CRM and pipeline pipeline management, two-way SMS, workflow automations, call tracking, full analytics, built-in AI, 24/7 support, and so much more. Stop paying for multiple tools and put more money in your pocket with Backbone. Just go to backbonelms.io now to get your free 14-day trial. Backbone supports letthemlive.org to help defend the defenseless by donating 5% of each subscription every month. Jump over to backbonelms.io now to start your free trial today.
Allegedly. And I know there's a lot of different accounts of what happened during the ascension, but allegedly, according to certain Gnostics, a light descended down from the heavens and enveloped Jesus, and then he rose up, getting brighter and brighter. Okay. And then it happens again. The next day he returned. According to those texts, he returned. The next day was even brighter as he descended back onto the planet. There was a massive earthquake. His disciples, his apostles, whatever, they were freaking out. They were so scared. They didn't know what was going on. And he spoke to them from it's me. And they're like, no, it can't be. Don't, you're scaring us. So he modulated the light down, and then he began to tell them where he'd been and what he was doing. And it's like, okay, so what little interaction I've had with him is really very insignificant compared to what other people have had or are having. And I realize that it's a blessing to have that, obviously, but it's also a burden, because a lot of people, like I said, they think, wait a second, you're crazy. Yeah. You must be crazy, but here's the thing. I couldn't understand until recently why would God or Jesus want to have a face-to-face with me? I seem like a pretty normal guy as far as I know, but that was totally abnormal. And then I found the answer was finally, again, recently, a lot of this stuff is very recent that I'm telling you. I heard a journalist saying, and she's been reporting on this human trafficking, specifically the children. Like you see that movie, The Sound of Freedom. Yeah. So it's way worse than people understand.
Oh, yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg, barely.
Literally. Okay, so what this journalist said was, she was so disturbed by what she was finding and reporting about the not just the trafficking, but the abuse of children up until death.
It's horrific. Yeah,
it's pure evil. And so anyway, she said I heard her saying this. I asked God, why are you allowing this to happen? And the answer she got back was, I'm not doing this. Okay. She said God told her that children are more connected to God than adults.
Oh, I'd buy that 100%.
And the evil ones know this. And this is why they're obsessed with abusing the children, because they know it's hurting
totally
God.
Makes sense.
It made so much sense to me. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for telling me that, but I don't feel any better right now. I'm like, I'm actually okay, because when I saved that young boy's life, it ended the torment. It cut God, Jesus was feeling that. And I went in there and I stopped it. So naturally he's looking at me, and I'm not even sure that it was just a random event, Steve. To tell you the truth, it feels like it was a bit of a,
I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I know. Okay. But okay. If this is a war in heaven, I feel like that was a big test, not just from God, but the angels of light were like, okay, Robert, we're going to see how you do here. If you pass this test, we got some other work for you to do, because that's what happens.
They're kind of interviewing you basically to see if they can count on you.
Think about it. Look, man, nobody gets in military. Nobody it's like, you don't just hand somebody a gun. Right. You train them, and they have to pay, and psychological tests and everything. I mean, it's like, and that's just a gun. Yeah. Here's a jet with bombs. No, it takes a certain type of person with a certain level of clarity and responsibility, and however you want to, whatever.
Has that made you feel like any pressure on you? I mean, is that affected you in that way at all?
I am trying to remain intact about all of this. Like I said, here, let me just put it this way. I would just say it's a privilege and a pleasure to serve, to be of service to God and the angels of light.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of a burden.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, of course it is. And especially if you know that my physical life is being threatened,
Right.
which obviously could affect my family. So it's very strategic. It's like anything else. Okay, so we were saying about sports. You can't be on offense all the time.
Yeah.
All right. You got to play offense, defense, otherwise you're going to lose. And so it's like I told you earlier before we were trying to set up this meeting, which kept getting, we had a lot of issues trying to get this conversation going. But anyway, I really thought that the wise move for me was to get off the internet this year because of artificial intelligence. I know how dangerous it really is. It's way more advanced than they're telling us. Yeah. And they've used it for a lot of things. The fallen angels have levels of it's really an artificial life form. It mimics real life, but it's artificial. It's synthetic biology, and it's way more. Why is it dangerous? Well, because they programmed it to be. You know, well, look at a pit bull. You know, dogs are great. I love dogs. Pit bull. What? You know, it's no.
I was hearing someone the other day talking about, you know, and if we're hearing it, you know, like AI is all of a sudden now the big thing. Well, if we're hearing it and it's a big thing, they've had it for years and years, if not decades and decades.
Right. Usually
you know,
all technology. Yeah.
They were talking about how like McDonald's somehow has some campaign that they can affect your, you know, your subconscious while you're sleeping. I mean, crazy shit like that is.
Subliminals and psychotronics, all that stuff is okay. So in one of the books that I promote and I literally have links to give away to people as a PDF. It's called The Shining Ones, like I told you before. And in there, it talks about it's quoting from different sources, but specifically the book of Enoch, which was prohibited from being part of the Bible as we know it. Because it basically says too much about the fallen angels and their manipulation of us, but they gave us weapons of war on a limited scale, and they taught us how to use it. They turned our women into whores. They gave us pharmaceutical drugs to control us. That literally came from an angel and that's also on my Substack. I finally put that out there for everybody. It's amazing that they can hide that for so long from the public, but pharmaceuticals comes from the name of one of the fallen angels. It's translated in Greek to pharmaros. And he's just part of that gang, you know, the cosmic mafia. And the thing is, it's really obvious to me now. I guess I should also tell you something else that happened in 2013. Okay, so I've established I do have some sort of relationship with God / Jesus and these angels of light. And it's a privilege, but it's, you know, whatever. This is not some trivial thing. Like they're using me to do stuff that they can't do here, to interface with the rest of the humanity. So but when they showed me these spiritual parasites, the Gnostics called them archons, the Muslims called them jinn. And so when I talked about those things that I saw floating up with these little spherical things, like whatever, spiritual parasites, they've been with us for a long time, and it's part of the bigger problem. And so when I asked Jesus about it, he helped me understand that how they were created, their thought forms, that everything is basically, we know about brainwaves, right? It's a patterning. Well, everything is based on patterns of energy, but it's generated by God and into these little particles that we can then assemble we can manifest things. And so sometimes our thought process can manifest things that obviously are very detrimental. Okay. Including on a higher level, these spiritual parasites. And so I exposed that on Coast to Coast AM after he gave me an insight. I mean, it was just like a lightning bolt. And I saw it so clearly that I wrote an article with a bunch of graphics and links and all this stuff. And I mean, it was like, here you go, everybody. And then I thought, whoa, wait a second. I don't want to be the messenger of, you know, exposing. And this is like around 2012, 2011. Anyway, it was around that time. I was also exposing all the alien UFO stuff in Washington D.C. But this came up because it seemed like there's a lot going on here. It's not just one little thing like, oh yeah, UFOs are real. No, it's way bigger than that. So anyway, I put this article together, which may seem like nothing, but it was so groundbreaking about these spiritual parasites. I said to God, Jesus, I said, hey, you know what? If you want me to be the messenger, so you better give me a sign, because I'm not really comfortable being the guy. It's one thing you got me doing this thing about Washington, D.C., but this is like ridiculous how the implications behind it, like I said, schizophrenia, they call it on one side. Oh no, it's possession on this side. Oh, it's the same thing. Oh man, this is like,
mind games with you, I'll bet.
No, not just me. It's like, no, everybody's vulnerable to that. Nobody wants to admit that they're hearing voices.
Right.
Because then you really are crazy. And then what? Oh, we'll give you drugs. Oh no, we'll lock you up. What? All right. So I said to him, look, give me a sign, please. If you really want me to get this out there. And shortly after that, I did get a call from Coast to Coast, one of the producers I'm friends with. And she said, Robert, can you come on tonight? And I'm like, wow, I could. Yeah. What's going on? She said, well, George's dad died. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's it. And I said, well, what do you want to talk about? She goes, well, what do you have? Like, jeez. Oh, very funny. So I said, hold on. And I emailed her the link to the article, and she's silent. And I said, do you see it? And she said, yeah. Let's do it. And I said, well, hang on. Are you sure? And she goes, yeah, we're doing this. I'm like, okay. Wow. Okay. So I got on with George, and he was just like on the edge, ready to collapse emotionally. Jeez. But we had this incredible exchange that night. And he said to me, Robert, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I said, man, no, George, this is a really good thing. This is how we heal. You can't solve a problem if you don't know if you don't realize you have one.
Exactly. And
it's really not about, you and I tonight. It's about all of humanity is vulnerable to this crap. And man, I got a deluge of email from people all over the world the next couple of weeks. They were saying essentially the same thing. Like, thank you. We knew this was going on, and thank God somebody finally brought it up, because it's such a taboo subject. Really, really is a taboo. So that was like, say, I'm guessing it was 2011. Okay, that's the problem. What is the solution? Yeah, exactly. And I was racking my brain, like most of us were very egotistical, like, oh, I can figure this out. It's just, no. So early 2013, sometimes winter, I'm living in New England. It's beautiful, but I'm struggling with this thing. Like, okay, so anybody could be possessed, including all our leaders or, puppets, really. Yeah. I can't figure out how we're supposed to solve this problem. Because if religion was the answer, I think we would have solved the problem a while ago. Yeah. So anyway, and you can't fight with these damn things. I mean, I learned some techniques, and we talked about it, and we're moving in the right direction. Anyway, I was really frustrated. So I'm sitting there, and I knew I had this connection. So all I did was I visualized the way Jesus presented himself to me that night, that radiant being of light, And I said to him, I don't know how we're supposed to solve this problem. And almost immediately, it was like a movie going off in my mind of these waves of energy washing over the planet. And I realized that everything in the next 10 years, from 2013 to now, 2023, that everything was going to be revealed because of this process of basically we're so dumbed down that this extra energy was going to elevate our consciousness, both good and evil, but it's all going to be, everything had to be revealed so that everyone could exercise their free will and make an informed decision. Do you want to continue down the dark side, or do you want to go to the path of light? I know it sounds utterly simplistic, but it's the implications of it are enormous.
Totally makes
And
sense to me,
you
yeah.
can't, so part of what, this is the really heartbreaking, literally heartbreaking. He showed me people all over the planet dying of heart attacks. And I thought it was because just the stress of everything being revealed. I guess he didn't want me to know that was part of the plan. They already, like I said, this is the other funny thing about war. Okay, so even though the bad guys try to hide everything, you can't do that. They're only fooling themselves. All right. They can't hide. We cannot hide our true innermost thoughts from God and the rest of the angels. You could call it telepathy or whatever, but we're totally transparent. We're only just like children. We're just playing games. We're just playing games and we're fooling ourselves. But so I saw all these people dying of heart attacks, and it was made clear to me that I and the rest of us here, we needed to prepare ourselves for this, what was coming, we've already gone through some of the worst of it. But, and he said to me, made it very clear, you cannot change. You have to allow your friends and family to make these choices, even if you don't agree with them, because that's their choice. That's what free will is. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt like hell.
Yeah. I'm seeing people it's hurting big time. Yeah. Just the frustration that so many are having because they know what's going on. Their family doesn't. Their family's taking the jab, etc. And it's scary. When's something going to happen to them if it's going to? And I can't imagine the anxiety and the.
Well, and at the time I'm sitting there, everything was that hadn't happened. Yeah, I mean, it was just starting to whatever. And I saw it, I felt it, but I was like, okay, intellectually, I'm like, okay, got that message, There's no way as it started to happen, especially when it happened to my father, my biological father, they murdered him.
Really? Oh gosh.
And yeah. And I'm like,
sorry,
okay, but it's like, it's happened to millions of people, just like I was shown. And I'm like, oh my,
jeez.
I found myself on this crazy, it was beyond angry. You know what I mean? It's just like, I was at a level of frustration that I've never experienced in my entire life. And that's why he had shown me this and warned me, you need to prepare yourself and help others prepare themselves for what's coming. Well, I guess I didn't do a good job, or maybe I underestimated however you want to look at it.
How it would take place, or that would be hard as hell.
I was grateful that I had at least some idea that not only it was coming, but when it happened, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I remember you showed me this was all part of this crazy ass thing that has to happen, because the dark side is literally hell-bent on taking over everyone and everything, and they have zero empathy, and so they're right. I tried not to take it personal, that this is in war, that's what happens, right? Everything gets destroyed and a lot of people physically die. But I also know that from this conflict, this level of conflict, that there's incredible lessons that are being learned about compassion and creativity, because they can try and destroy everything. And guess what? We'll rebuild it.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, it's silly to think about punishing them, because they have dug such a deep hole for themselves. I'll just leave you with this. Look, man, it's important for us to forgive, but never forget.
Yeah.
Never forget the lessons that's been learned here. And forgiveness is so important, because without it, we can't really move on. It's like trying to drive with your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out so hot. And it's also it causes, this goes back to that article I sent you last night.
Yeah.
Alleged breakthrough physics, right? It's called room temperature superconductivity, or high temperature superconductivity. It can be achieved, but it has to be at a very, very, very low temperature. And the reason that even works at all is because as you lower the temperature, you lower the resistance within the circuits. The same thing is true for us because we are electrochemical beings.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. So our DNA, when we're stressed out, the DNA, the strands, they coil tighter. And there's more resistance to the energy and the information, the life force. It becomes restricted. That's what resistance is. And so we overheat, we break down, inflammation.
Yeah.
Okay, all of that crap, pain. So what is the answer there? All right. So they're trying to stay in physics. They try to figure it out. Well, good for them. But for us, physically, spiritually, forgiveness is a huge one because it allows us to relax and stop feeling like we're fighting against something or someone, and allow ourselves to, as the DNA starts to uncoil, it becomes more conductive and it allows us to connect more fully with the creation and the creator. And that's one of the articles I'm going to put up on my Substack. Again, it's very simple. Robert Stanley, it's all one word, robertstanley.substack.com. So there's something that I'm going to put up there for everybody called the cosmic web of light. Now, I didn't come up with that term. That's what scientists, our current modern human scientists, call this thing that we're part of. The fabric of life is called the cosmic web of light. In Star Wars, it's called the Force. But where's that coming from?
Talking. I just realized my computer wasn't plugged in. I got an alert, so keep talking. I'm just going to plug it in.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. So
we're good.
This web of light emanates and flows throughout all of creation, from the largest scale, the macro, down to the subatomic micro scale. And even though the dark side took that and made their own weird copy, what most people now call a matrix, because it is run with artificial intelligence, quantum computers, whatever, however, the language we're using, again, is very limited. But they have a level of, the fallen ones have science. They are lower ranking Anunnaki, shining ones that have fallen. Excuse me. And it's important to point this out too. Okay. If you read the book, The Shining Ones, it says that they in their language, they call their scientists serpents. So this is important. One-eyed serpent is a scientist who's only focused on the physical and mental aspect. A two-eyed serpent is a more holistic scientist that actually understands the spiritual, the mental, and the physical, the whole thing. Very holistic. Now, again, this is an analogy or metaphor. In the so-called Garden of Eden, when we were tempted or tricked, our ancestors were tricked by a one-eyed serpent. That was a scientist. That was a fallen angel or lower ranking Anunnaki scientist that was manipulating our ancestors into what we currently are today. And I don't know if you read that article or not that I put out there, but the forbidden fruit.
I haven't read that one yet.
According to ancient Jewish mythology, they didn't eat a fruit, they ate a child.
Oh, wow.
And they were tricked into doing it by a particular fallen angel, a lower ranking scientist named Samael. Yeah. It says what I'm telling you about. I'm telling you, this is all being revealed not by me.
Right.
This is part of God's plan for us. We can either choose to go with it to the light or not. And it's an amazing time to be here, despite all the nonsense that's going on, the good stuff. And that was my frustration too, with jumping off the internet. I know how damn dangerous it is, what they're planning to do to us, to punish us all for having free speech.
Yeah.
Or freedom of thought or whatever, which is a total violation, right? They're violating our free will in every way they can think of possibly to keep us enslaved. They know they're losing their grip on us because our consciousness is The reason our consciousness is changing is because as we elevate, we're making a stronger connection to the cosmic web of light. That's why I have to put that up there to show people. It's one thing for me to say it, but when you actually see it, and again, these are just little drawings and some animations and stuff, but it'll help you get a better understanding of how we connect to this, literally to all of creation. And that's what happened to me. That and they showed me that. You see, because after let me just, do we have a few more minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So after I had the out-of-body experience in Malibu in 1985, I went back to that spot and found there was ancient megalithic ruins there.
Wow.
And I was floored because I'd seen them in my dreams growing up. I had many times I had lucid dreams where I'd wake up and I was in my neighborhood and I was somehow just moving around. I think I was being guided by whoever, whatever. And they would take me to this place up in the mountains. I called it my night school. I don't know what else to say, but it was weird because it was somehow we were shifting through time past the Native American tribes to something other than, and I guess most people loosely call it Lemuria or Mu, whatever. But the bottom line is those are ancient megalithic ruins of the Anunnaki. And at a time, well, that's something else I need to put up again. I had it up on my website, but the only reason that I even have a Substack right now is because, again, I got a call from Coast to Coast, the same producer, Lisa Lyons, nice lady. She said, Robert, our guest canceled last minute. Could you possibly come on? It's like, I don't have a website. I'm getting ready to leave the internet, and you're asking me to come back on to talk to millions of people. Which, by the way, twice, George let me talk about, get the message out around the world, asking people to ask the angels of light for assistance with the angels of darkness. And I survived. I didn't get bumped off. Right. So I must be doing some, and I'll never know for sure until much later if that was effective or not, but I'm guessing it did make a difference.
Absolutely, man.
But anyway, so recently this year, like I said, got the call and she's like, please, Robert, I don't know how, I'm sorry to do this to you, but could you please? I'm like, all right, man. So within a couple hours, I just figured it out. Like, I never used Substack before. And I just put one article up there about artificial intelligence and the dangers of it. Cause I know I was assaulted by a freaking artificial intelligence back in 1990. I know that sounds stupid, but okay, because it's way more advanced than you know. And I don't think it was from our government. I think it was from the fallen angels. That was back in 1990.
Wow.
And they knew then that I was what I was about, what I was preparing to do, what I was capable of doing, only because I was interfacing with God and Jesus and the angels of light. Why am I saying that? Because after 1985, when I went back up there and I saw these ancient megalithic ruins, I recognized them as something I'd seen or been shown multiple times. I thought it was my imagination until I'm standing there looking at them going, whoa, damn, this is real. Wow. What is this about? Okay, well, let's just show you, Robert. Let's just take you one step at a time, like you really are. And this is your classroom. And guess what? We're going to teach you all kinds of stuff, but you need to then share that with your classmates.
Wow. Because
they'll listen to you, but they'll freak out if we just show up and start talking to them. They just shit their pants when they see one of our ships coming. They're just, I'm not joking either. It's very scary. It's very scary when they come too close. And that's what happened. I started going there at night with and without people, but mostly with people that I would meet. And I'd say, hey, guess what? Come on, check this out. And they're like, whoa, that's crazy. Who did that? And I'm like, I don't know. But, and so we ended up, there was this one particular spot, and we would be up there at night and the UFOs would come in, not every night, but enough times, literally they were beaming a light on us. And this was not helicopters, anything like that, man. Okay. So that went on for a number of years, and they were obviously downloading stuff into me to the point where those on the dark side were getting very, very worried about what I was about to do. against them,
Right.
because information is a huge part of warfare.
Oh, for sure. Especially this war.
Well, yeah, because
it's
what
unreal.
is it? You always talk about, people say, oh, it's a spiritual battle. Really? Okay. So what does that mean exactly? It means that you winning the hearts and minds and the souls or spirits of people. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to dispel the lies.
Yeah.
And the only way you could do that is if you have authentic and accurate information. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I've had to apologize quite a few times in the past for my misunderstanding of things. Okay. It's not like they're lying to me. I just didn't understand because I've been programmed, brainwashed like everybody else on this planet. And I'm in a very limited situation here as
people
what
can
you see.
sense your intentions when, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
Sense it and feel
I am legitimately.
And the fact that you would admit to a mistake and apologize if it happens, where, that's not very normal.
Well, and I also answer all my email unless somebody's just being a real jerk.
Right. That's cool.
Unlike a lot of people in this alternative media, I've answered I countless thousands of emails to people all over the planet. Why? Because if they hear something that touches them, resonates with them on a spiritual level, and then they reach out to me and I say, I'm too busy, that could end it. But if I respond to them and I say, thank you, and yeah, sure, I appreciate you, contacting me or whatever, it keeps that thing flowing.
That's such an important message, I think, right there for others, they're authentic and real, to really hear that.
So one of the reasons, thank you. One of the reasons, well, yeah, because it's called reciprocity. Like I said, we're all
reciprocity is real.
Because that's what sustainability is, right? Not just on a physical level, but a spiritual level. There's that. That's really important. The energy keeps flowing.
Yeah.
That's part of our consciousness of our being. But what they showed me, when I was up there, one of the nights I was up there on that mountain in Malibu, when a UFO that we could see, there's probably quite a few that I know that they can become invisible whenever they want, but they were beaming a light on me and my friend that one particular night. And they showed me in my mind that everything was connected through this web of light. And it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And I was really blown away by that. And I thought it could just be my imagination, because these, it's so out there, And then a few years later, I actually saw what scientists, this is what our scientists are calling it, a cosmic web of light. But it's not just a static web, like a spider web is just here, No, these are like rivers and streams, and it's all what they call a kinetic. It's moving. It's constantly flowing, and we can't see it with our physically in this current format. But man, they use instruments. But again, in our unadulterated form, angelic form, we could see it, we can interact with it, and I mean fully interact with it. I've only had little glimpses and whatever downloads, but okay, so look, this is a terrible analogy, but the internet, you understand how the internet works, right? It connects. It's a web of information like that. That's a very poor copy of the web of light. A very, very, very dumbed down version that the fallen ones gave to our Pentagon, and which then became, the internet. It was specifically the agency at the Pentagon. This is big on AI. It's called DARPA, DARPA, right? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, they they connected all these computers. Well, if you think of all of us as computers, on a soul, spiritual level, connected to a cosmic web of light, that means like multiple trillions of other souls out there that we can connect with or to.
Yeah.
So how much smarter would we be?
Yeah, no kidding.
And so and that's why they increasingly are putting all this radiation into the environment. It not only suppresses us, like I said, it makes the DNA constrict. It suppresses, it cuts us off. It's like, you know what a firewall is, right?
Yeah.
In a computer,
Yeah.
or on the internet. So the same thing is true. They're trying to keep us
big firewall
separate.
over us.
Yeah. That's what the matrix is. It's not. Here's the problem for the fallen angels. They've lost their ability to create. So all they do is manipulate, and not well either. I mean, not for the benefit of everybody. They only do it for the benefit of themselves, which ultimately in a meritocracy, that you're screwing yourself. Yeah, you're hurting other people, but that goes on your permanent record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And boy, it's such a deep, deep hole that they've dug for themselves at this point. So, man, I'm sorry to ramble at you so hard, but
hey, if I had something to say, I'd stop and say it. But no, I think it was very, very insightful and very informative. So I appreciate it. I mean, geez,
welcome.
Feel like tip of the iceberg in many ways too. So I mean, I'd love to bring you back sometime. And there's so much great information that you're putting out. And like you said, I mean, you've obviously been called,
yeah. And it's it has been, I always, people have, my friends, obviously growing up like yours, it's like, oh, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do that. Right. We'll go to school. Well, I mean, I've gone to school, but early on, I didn't go to school. I was traveling with my parents. So I learned how to educate myself more through reading and analyzing, contemplation, whatever. So it was part of the path.
Training. Yeah.
It was the path. It's like, break from the paradigm so that you can actually see things that other people are missing because the indoctrination is so strong.
Oh, it's unreal.
Yeah. But anyway, here's the deal. I know that we have a lot to be grateful for. And that's when I encourage people to take a moment or two to actually thank God and the angels of light for the fact that we are, I know a lot of people take this very personally, and there's no other way to say this. We are in the process of being redeemed and liberated and rehabilitated through something. I just call it a divine reset. I know the evil guys calling it the great reset. No, it's a satanic thing that they're doing. They're trying to avert what God's plan is truly a divine reset. And who's leading it? But who is leading that? It would be Jesus.
Yeah.
That aspect of God that has been heavily distorted by the dark side. They have come up with all kinds of weird versions of who he is, what he is, and so that they can further continue the manipulation.
Right.
But and I'm not saying I know all of it, but I've been privileged to get to know him. It's not it's not like just what do you call a casual conversation. It isn't like it at all. None of this makes sense.
No words to really express what it's like.
Well, I have to use words. That's all we really have.
I understand,
right now. But you're right. It's very limited.
None of us can really interpret what it's like and feels like.
Okay, true. I would just say this though. When he didn't leave. Okay, I know that's no, and that was really confusing for me too, because the current narrative is, oh, he's coming back. What you think he doesn't care about all the crap that's going on here right now? I mean, come on. So it has to. How bad does it have to get to before he comes back? I would just say this: he's really busy. He's super busy doing this, prosecuting this war in heaven with the angels of light, and that's when he comes back in a way that everybody can see him. It's unmistakable. He's bringing an army of angels. He wouldn't need that for just some lowly people like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's doing that because of they're going to evict or eradicate all the fallen angels in their technology here. If they don't, the planet's toast.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So I know a lot of people say, oh, he's my personal savior. Great. Okay. But he's also not just saving you, he's saving the planet, and he's saving all the rest of creation. That's how big this is.
Yeah. Jeez.
And I know it's a lot to take in, but anyway, what I've posted on my Substack so far, I wasn't planning on doing that, but since it's there and we have the internet is still on right now,
Right.
We don't have to sign up, give you a, digital ID or whatever. I'm posting a lot of information on a regular basis because a lot of people are tuning in there. That's the only place you can find me right now. And it's a lot. It's not just articles. I'm posting old shows, radio shows, and videos, and
recordings and videos.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's a massive amount of information. The problem is, it literally, you need to be a little bit patient to everybody, because I have a life, but also it takes time to upload or download, or I guess it's uploading. Whatever. I literally have to take it from my hard drive and upload it into the Substack servers. So, and I have a decent connection, but it's still, some of that stuff, it takes a while for it to and I'll do that as best I can. And I'm really thinking about it as best I can right now while we have the time. There's some things like, I guess
Come on,
that's
Robert, what is it?
well, it's the final pieces of like Jesus said to me, everything has to be revealed. And like, that's a word. That's a word. Everything, easy to say. It's impossible for us to fully comprehend what that means in our current situation. I'm just to be honest with you, at least maybe I just speak for myself.
No, I don't care. My belief is no matter how awake anyone thinks they are, we're going to be blown away. I mean,
it is. It's overwhelming.
Stuff that we never probably even thought of.
Exactly.
Comes to the surface. We're going to be like, what the hell? Wow.
Right. And that's, again, this is what I'm trying to articulate, but that's why I wrote that's why I wrote the divine briefing. It's just a summary. Then you have to, depending how deep you want to go to understand what's going on with the war in heaven, and also who Jesus is and what he's doing. There's books that I recommend that I'm just putting the links there, download it. Please download it. If you go to my Substack and you read the divine briefing, you gotta download those books, because you never know when they're going to get deleted.
Yeah.
Not just by me, but whatever. That's just, the dark side really doesn't want this information getting out there. And they obviously haven't been successful in killing me, which is, I'm grateful for that. So I can continue to do the work and hang out with my family and help them, get through their daily life. And I have a good time too. It's not all a burden, man. I just want you to know, I'm actually very grateful. I feel very privileged to have had the life that I've had. Been to 59 countries so far, and
wow,
the middle-class American life is like, that's what I'm telling you about. When I traveled around, I saw how other people in the world live.
Yeah.
Shocking. Okay. Like, blow my freaking mind. Like, once you see that, you can't unsee it. Once you smell it, you talk to those people, you see their suffering, you go, what the, on my worst day, I cannot complain. Being not only an American, but in Southern California, growing up on the beach. And it's like, you idiot, you don't even know. Most of my friends had no freaking clue. And it was hard for me to relate to them at some point. It's like, are you really that dense? Or are you just in such a bubble? You don't know what's going on. No, you don't even care.
Yeah.
And I learned to tone it down after a while, because it's like, I shouldn't judge people.
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand why they seem to be so disconnected.
Yeah. I fight that like every day. And I just try to keep reminding myself, that, hey, I'm just grateful that I'm where I'm at, and just, don't judge them, because I know what they've faced, and, I don't know what the reasons are. They're there, but, just have to have faith that things are going to work the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. Well,
they're going to work the way I want them to, but, I don't know what else to do,
Yeah. And that's the thing, as I was getting all this information when I was still living out there in Malibu, there was a few times I thought, man, I better stop talking to these people, because they're going to lock me up and, or just completely ostracize me from the community. And eventually it was time to go for whatever reason. And, but it worked out really well, because I ended up becoming, a public speaker. and an author, and reaching literally everybody on the planet. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Every corner of the planet except for like the South Pole or something. I have been able to reach through this medium. And it really, in hindsight, it does seem like they were just prepping me to get to the point where once this came online, even though it's designed to control us and manipulate us,
Yeah.
There's those of us, the spiritual warriors, that go out there and go, guess what?
Yeah.
I can shine light through your stupid matrix, and
Right.
you know,
A lot of
we're
harm,
going to
but
get.
we can use it for good. Yeah.
Yeah, because but the bottom line is it's just preparatory for, so as this divine reset unfolds, and I really, for this world, I would have to say it began when Jesus showed up here, and it will end when Jesus is publicly seen again around the world.
Mhm.
That'll be the end of the divine reset. And it's not going to be some hypothetical, oh, if you're a Christian, it's all, no, it's going to be everybody is going to be affected by this. No question about it. It's not some weird theory. It's not a faith-based thing. It's going to be very, very factual. And I'll also caution everybody, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
But brutal at the same time.
Until we get to the beauty.
Only because a lot of people are going to panic because they're going to feel like everything is being taken from them as it all collapses.
Yeah.
And yet, I just want people to keep this in the back of your mind. This is the beginning of the rest of your existence as a child of God. In other words, your inheritance, our inheritance of the universe, as we call it, the creation, the cosmos. It's on the other side of that. Once we're liberated and we reconnect with the rest of our family throughout all of creation, and we're fully connected to the web of light, the benefits from that outweigh the hardships that we're going to go through in order to get to there. So I'm just saying. I know it sounds weird, man. I know it sounds crazy.
Well, to some people it may. That doesn't sound crazy to me because I'm on the same page 100%. But it's going to be tough. But thanks so
we'll get
much,
through it.
Robert. This has been great.
You're welcome.
Folks, if you're listening, please, share this with people, family, friends, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you'll go to Apple, do a 5-star review. We need to get this episode out there so more and more people that haven't heard about Robert will learn about him and access his Substack, which is robertstanley.substack.com. I'll have that in the show notes. And please jump over there, subscribe. That would help Robert out as well. It's cheaper than cheap. I can't remember, a few bucks a month maybe. And, get access to that information and, educate yourself and start being somebody that can jump in to this war as well. If you feel like that's something that you're willing to do, we need as much help out there. And then please, pray for Robert, his safety and his family. As well as mine, if you would as well. So appreciate you listening, appreciate you being here. Thanks so much, Robert. Do you have anything you want to wrap it up with, or we taken care of?
I just want to say thank you, Steve. I commend you for the work you're doing, even though you and I just met. Obviously there were some forces that really didn't even want us to have this conversation.
For sure.
Just so people know, it's not that simple. You don't just push a button. There was someone or something that was trying to prevent us from having this conversation that you just heard. Okay. So it's much bigger. The information that we exchange here is much bigger than just Steve and I. It's really not about us. It's about, it's about all of us coming together as reuniting as one cosmic family under God.
That's it. That's the key right there. I mean, if we could do that, I mean, my whole, every inch of my body's on end right now. I mean, we could just do that and understand that it's about that love that you've meditated on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Jacob, but he always talks about putting out that love bubble, and and that resonated with me, even though I'd never heard it. And then you hear it from a guy like him, and that's not what you'd expect here from a guy like him and his background, but it proves that. I mean, that's what it's all about. So thanks again, brother. I really appreciate it. You betcha. Take care.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work.
The new MyPillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99. Or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel sets, regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code.